It is now Tuesday morning, which of course means Happy Tuesday, means it's no longer Monday, and now we can get on with our week. So yeah, no kidding. Oh, I think it's pretty obvious. Well, actually it's not very obvious, I haven't even explained anything yet. So when I first wake up in the morning, I do make an effort to, work out, and, I did, obviously before, making this video. And even though I do work out, I do have that period of essentially procrastination. I do. I basically do stuff like toss and turn around even though I'm clearly wide awake, or, just sort of, try and go back to sleep, pretending that it's not time for me to get up, even though it clearly is, and then some. And so, another thing, obviously, I do is look at my phone. So, I look at my phone, and I check, some of the social media platforms that I'm on, and I check my Instagram. And, of course I have an Instagram. I had my Instagram since before Memorial Day last year, which, that was actually a really fun day for me, considering that was the first time I showed you guys Cuca Lake. My point is, I look on Instagram and I follow a lot of things I like, one of which, of course, is First Sweet Feast, which produces Hot Ones. No kidding. The newest guest on Hot Ones this week is going to be Shaquille O'Neal. I'm like, yes. Oh, man. That was one I didn't know I won until I saw it. That thing, the kind of thing where, you don't know you want this, and then you see it and this is quite satisfying. So, yes, Shaquille O'Neal is going to be the newest guest on Hot Ones. I cannot wait. And the best part is, I grew up, I was born incredibly late, 1989, so even though I'm technically an 80s baby, I'm a 90s kid, and in the 90s, Shaquille O'Neal was a really, really, really big, he was a big deal. And that's not making fun of him being super duper tall either. He really was popular. Him and Michael Jordan were at the time the two most popular basketball players that come to mind. Seriously, when I think of my time in the 90s and great sports athletes in the 90s, and you have to remember, I didn't really get into football until I was more in my teens, late teens, early 20s. So, basically, when I think of, great athletes of the 90s, I really think of Michael Jordan and Shaquille O'Neal. At least for me. It's going to be different for everybody. That's just how it works. Although, fun fact, it was actually because of Michael Jordan, I can actually say I once had a girl chase me. That was pretty cool. It was literally what you see in it really wasn't anything bad. It's just because this one girl I knew way back in first grade, who I do believe she's happily married now, which is awesome. She was a huge Michael Jordan fan, and occasionally, whenever we were allowed to not wear uniforms at St. Mary Our Mother, I actually had an old Michael Jordan jersey. So, yeah, she'd be like, Michael Jordan! It was, it's stupid when I say it now, but at the time, it really was that exciting. In fact, I think the world actually went to a standstill. I remember where I was the minute that Michael Jordan actually retired. Oh yeah, it was actually, sorry, my computer screen sort of turned off. I have to do somewhat ambient lighting because even though my windows are open, it's still dark out. Anyway, it was actually on gym class. It was during gym class, because that same girl I just mentioned, she's looking at the clock saying, Michael Jordan is going to retire at 2:00, and myself, this girl, and several other of us, we're looking at the clock in the gym saying when Michael Jordan was going to retire, and yeah, 2 o'clock hit, and the girl's like, Michael Jordan's retired now. Like, yeah, it was pretty big. So, I mean, again, looking back on it now, there are plenty of great athletes of the 90s that you can look to. I mean, you can sort of make an argument for, the Dallas Cowboys, Troy Aikman, Michael Irving, Emmitt Smith, or for the Green Bay Packers, Brett Favre. For the Denver Broncos, John Elway. The list is going to go on and on, regardless of, what sport or for baseball, this is like when the Yankees were like completely dominant for World Series in the 90s. I mean, the Atlanta Braves had technically won more games, but the Yankees would pretty much always win the World Series. So, yeah, pretty much all of the 90s Yankees, that's another team that comes to mind. And technically the Mets, too. Actually, I was in 5th grade when it was the all-New York World Series, the Yankees and the Mets. I mean, I knew the Yankees are going to win, but I guess technically, I don't really talk about baseball enough, but I guess if I am a fan of any team, I guess it's the Yankees. Again, I don't really pay much attention to baseball. I mean, I do know that there are some teams that are, contenders to win the World Series, but I never, I think the Royals are, the Blue Jays, I think, were pretty good last year. The Chicago Cubs are on the plus side of winning the last several years. The Red Sox, again, that list just goes on and on. So, I guess one thing to take away from that is you're going to find great athletes or great teams or all of the above, no matter what decade you're talking about. So, yeah. Wow, that actually wow, I was only going to talk about, just Shaquille O'Neal. How did he get all the way to baseball? That's weird. Well, actually, it would come full. Wait, hold on. I gotta make this full circle. I have to make this full circle. Michael Jordan actually did retire to play baseball for a little while. Yes! I totally brought it back to full circle. So, yeah. Even though I was really talking about Shaquille O'Neal and for whatever reason I was talking about Jordan. Actually, does anyone know if they ever played against each other? Because those are easily two of the biggest names in basketball of the 90s. And yet, I can't recall of any great moments if they ever played against each other. I know Shaq would play against Kobe Bryant a lot. But that, nothing else really rings to mind. Oh well. And yeah, I should probably quickly get into the fact that, yeah, both Michael Jordan and Shaquille O'Neal were both known for doing, enjoyably bad kids movies. Shaquille O'Neal had Kazam and Michael Jordan had Space Jam. Huh, they rhyme. Who knew? Oh, actually, I did know that because, it's simple rhyming. So, yes. Thursday, March 14th, 11 a.m., newest episode of Hot Ones will feature Shaq, and I am stoked for this. I can't wait to see how he handles the Wings of Death. But then again, he's got him, Shaq has himself a few championships. If he can win an NBA championship, he can take on the Wings of Death. At least I think. Actually, I really don't know if, again, basketball really isn't a sport I'm the greatest at when it comes to, knowledge at. Football I could almost talk to you about all day, but basketball isn't so much. So, again, I know that Jordan had, Jordan in the 90s, 6 rings, but don't really know if anything else to that matter. Actually, there is, Larry Bird, a great Boston Celtic. He was really special. I actually mentioned this once before, but back in the days at Horseheads Middle School, the protocol was if there was a like some sort of violent disturbance or like someone doing something incredibly crazy and insane in a very bad way, the announcers would go, "Will Mr. Larry Bird come to the principal's office?" I forget what the protocol was for after that, but if that was the case, that's what would happen. So, although I had no idea who Larry Bird was until I saw a documentary on him, so after all these years, I'm wondering, why would they do something as iconic as Larry Bird for something that's technically not a good thing? Because Larry Bird was awesome. Believe me, I have a friend who is a huge Boston Celtics fan. And he could vouch for me on the fact that Larry Bird is probably the greatest Boston Celtic of all time. In fact, if I recall correctly, him and Magic Johnson actually had a bit of a rivalry going on. I guess my knowledge about basketball isn't as bad as I thought it was. Oh well. So, yeah, I was supposed to talk about The Voice last night because I actually saw some really good, performances. I mean, I saw basically, the first performance right out of the gate, it was actually funny because Kelly Clarkson says, like, it's going to be a woman and she's going to rock it. It was, and she did. It was this one, woman who did an Aretha Franklin song, whose father was one of the Griffin brothers, I think it was, who, like, had a Grammy, whatever. And so, like, she toured with Anita Baker, and, like, she's 46 years old, and, Kelly ended up picking Kelly. It was good. That was a really good performance. And there was a sneak peek that was trending on YouTube, a lot over the last several days. And it was this one woman named Selkie, who is from South Africa. And I finally saw her performance, on TV last night because honestly they didn't show who she ended up picking in the sneak peek. But her rendition of the song I Try, I felt like I was a kid of the 90s again. Like, seriously. Like, it was literally like listening to Macy Gray from way back when. And I love Macy Gray. I mean, I grew up watching the show As Told by Ginger when I was a teenager. So, and Macy Gray did the theme song for As Told by Ginger. So, like, it really made me feel like a kid again. I mean, I'm always going to feel like a kid at heart, but you get the idea. So, yeah. Although, one thing I did notice last night about the show, like, I think they really want to wrap up the auditions as soon as possible because they started doing, like, this quick thing where the artist performs for, like, a shorter period of time, and then they almost immediately, like, pick the coach they want to go to. So, I think tonight they really are going to start, wrapping up with, auditions and stuff. So, again, I love watching the auditions for The Voice. Honestly, I find that the most entertaining thing about it. But, since this really is my first time I'm actually watching, like, The Voice from the very beginning, I guess it really wouldn't be a bad idea for me to at least check out the rest of it. And plus, it's gonna kill some time before I can see Terry Crews rocket again, being the host of America's Got Talent. So, there's that. So, yay, I have things to be able to do until time comes to do something else. In the meantime, I guess I'll just stick to making videos every day, quite simply as such. So, like, favorite, share, and hit that subscribe button. I could really use the support on YouTube. Follow me on the social media platforms, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and Tumblr. As always, I'm very humbled I made this video for all of you guys to watch and enjoy for today. I'm hopeful that we all have a wonderful Tuesday. And remember, if you guys want to talk or chat, I'm always going to be here to lend an ear, and I'll always have your back. Take care, and make good choices.